Video game player bases are getting more and more impatient, so to appease the appetite of the masses, here are 25 quick tips guaranteed not to overstay their welcome for that great war shooter, Battlefield 1. 1. Don't panic. With a drop back to the era of semi-automatics, it is more important than ever, in the words of Douglas Adams, you don't panic. If you're getting hit, keep your fire pattern and cool, and don't fire wildly. The recoil will throw you completely off. Obviously, if they're right in your face, going a little crazy is okay. 2. Dogfighting in biplanes is all about controlling your speed. If you can get used to slowing down behind aircraft until you're almost stalling, then speed up when they do, you'll be able to not only get on their tail, but keep there. Most new pilots will also just speed past you, and if you evade that and slow down, you can drop behind them, turning the tables. 3. When you're horse riding, don't stop. If you stop, then you only make yourself a big target, but with your sword you can charge down most infantry before they have the time to react. If you miss someone, you are best either running or arching around rather than a slow, tight turn. 4. I'd advise taking some anti-tank equipment, even just a light AV grenade. If everyone chips in, the tanks aren't so scary and seemingly OP. You might even be the lucky one and get the kill. 5. If you're lucky enough to get in that driver's seat of the train and have access to the artillery cannon, make sure you aren't too distracted and always make sure you are capturing a point. Otherwise you're wasting the potential of 6 people and around a fifth of your fighting force. 6. Struggling to climb an obstacle that looks easily scalable, try holding down the jump key rather than a single press, which normally works and it should get you over most times. 7. Sandstorms and other torrential weather conditions mean vision is often impaired, so it is more important than ever to keep Q-spotting enemies to see their tag pop up. Just be careful in close quarters combat, as an enemy could easily hear you shouting out in a different language to their faction, and smoke you. 8. Sound is important in knowing if an enemy is nearby. Never have soldiers in a shooter been so bogged down with tin equipment that will clank and rattle whenever they are trying to be most sneaky, so a headset is always a great option. 9. Fighter planes can equip an anti-bomber projectile. It has a big drop and in the air needs to be used close up, but inflicts massive damage. You can often just gib bombers with this thing and it's extremely satisfying. It also gives the option to strafe ground targets, but with the lack of jets, shooting in a dive can land you smack bang into the ground. 10. There are super weapons on the maps. On Sinai Desert, the flamethrower is near B point in the square next to the most northwestern building in a crate. The machine gun is located near F point, where there is tarp over a trench in a crate too. They both give you extra health and are powerful in close quarters, but can be countered by someone who keeps their distance. 11. Horse riding around the tight alleys of C on Sinai Desert can work extremely well, as enemies have less time to spot you and react to you charging down with a saber. Just make sure you follow the alleyways and don't stop. I've seen some players completely rip this area up. On the other hand, fighting in the open desert often gives the enemy the upper hand, as they have a lot of time to see you coming and react. 12. When sniping, don't sit in one spot. Immobile, the glint of your scope will give you away. You need to keep moving after every kill and make sure that people aren't picking up on your position. 13. The flare gun is extremely important as a scout. It is the spot tool of the class. The projectile will also set alight to enemies if they touch it or hit by it, but it is not deadly. I thought it was just a weapon to begin with, I didn't realise it was a spot weapon, so maybe you didn't either. 14. Make sure the sensitivity is right for your aim in the options. For me, the sensitivity is way too high for infantry play, but was too low to use with aircraft. 15. With medic rifles, especially with scopes on, if you spot the glint of a sniper rifle and you have a clear shot, you can strafe side to side and dodge most less experienced snipers, and the damage taken will often throw them off, leaving you victorious. 16. The cavalryman dismounted has a combination of a one-hit headshot bolt action, ammo pack, medic pack, and the saber, which is a deadly melee weapon. If you get into a pickle with the horse, it's a great class to continue the fight with on foot. 17. You can use your bayonet charges to get quickly from one spot of cover to another if you're taking heavy fire, but make sure you judge the distance, otherwise rather than getting to safety you will just be a slow shoot me target out of breath. 18. Make sure to be engaged at the range that benefits your weapon most. A lot of weapons hit the medium range, being lower rate of fire or completely semi-automatic. However, there are a few automatic weapons that act like SMGs and shotguns, which will mess you up in close quarters if you're not careful. 19. Melee combat is extremely powerful in this game and is gruesomely rewarding. If you're caught out of your comfort zone in a room, most of the time I grab my melee weapon and swing over the pistol option. Just be careful if you hit someone from behind, you go into an animation and you'll be vulnerable to any other enemies in the room. 20. Vehicles are more powerful than infantry in almost all situations, and you'll often have higher kill potential, so grab one when you see one. Even if you are hit, most of the time you have time to react and bail, and then carry on as normal. 21. If you see a tank and you're in the anti-tank vehicle turret, be sure you always keep your face towards the enemies, as ground targets don't do explosive damage to the front of it. 22. You can pick up the medkits and ammo kits thrown from your horse using the 3rd and 4th slot button. You may just have to slow down for it to register, and if you're going too fast it will just drop behind you. 23. Tanks are slow and duels often end up with tanks almost touching. It is worth trying to finish them off with an anti-vehicle grenade if you have one, if it gets through both the smoking and reloading. 24. Even if the train is awesome to play with and the guns are great, if you want to win the round, it's not always best to spawn into it. With 6 people it already has one more than a squad, and it can only take 1 point at a time. A lot of the time when you're fighting normally, points are taken by 2 or 3 people, so it might actually be detrimental to you winning. 25. Play as much as you can whilst you can. Open beta officially ends September the 8th and won't be released until next month. I hope you all enjoyed these tips and that some of you may be able to learn from them, and I'm fairly sure most, if not all, will still be relevant when the game goes live next month, as the core gameplay is definitely there and there will probably be slight tweaks from this point on. What did everyone else think of the tips? Were they helpful? Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you thought this video was as swift as the cavalryman in game, give it a like. If you thought it was as slow as the armoured train stopping, give it a dislike. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you all very much for watching. Until next time, Joshino.